I want to now start pulling in this Laravel permission from Spatie and just configure it, get it installed, and get it up and running. And this is a fairly popular package for roles and permissions for Laravel. It's been used a lot, and there are others, but this one I like because it's just sort of a step above doing it ourselves, and it's pretty powerful for what it does. But as always, if you guys have been watching any of my previous videos, you know that I like to customize as much as possible, and this package allows you to do that. So it's really easy. It allows you to give permissions to a user, assign role, just, you know, anything you can think of, it's there. So why don't we go ahead and install it? And I'll leave this link to this page in the description down below. So we can go ahead and now just go to the install in Laravel. This package can be used with Laravel 6.0 or higher. And we have all the prerequisites, so we're done there. All we need to do is now use Composer to bring it in. So copy. And let's open up a new terminal. Okay, put that in there, let that run. Let's see, optional, the service provider will automatically get registered, which means we don't have to put this in our config.app or config.app.php because it'll already be there. But what we should do is publish the migration, and this will publish a bunch of it'll publish one migration file, but it's just a lot. I'll show you in a bit once we get this done. Now that that's installed, we can go ahead and paste in that PHP artisan vendor, and it now publishes our migrations for us. So let's see if there's anything left to do here. I don't think that there is. We don't need to do any of that, but we do need to run the migration now. So we'll copy, and then we'll go ahead and paste it in here, and that should run the migration. Actually, what I did need to do is if we go to the migration file, I want to show you what it looks like. Okay, so all it's really doing is it's giving us both the permissions table, it's giving us the roles table, it's giving us the model has permissions, and model has roles, role has permissions. So it allows you to do a lot of different things. How we're going to set this up though is a user is going to be given a role, and that role is already going to have pre-configured permissions to it, so that when an admin, it'll be super admin or an admin are the only two who are going to be allowed to create roles, who are going to be allowed to create permissions, or any of the other tables that we have. They'll be able to attach those permissions to those roles, and when they give them to the user, that user will have that predefined list of permissions that they're allowed based on the role that they're given. That's how we're going to set it up. Okay, so one thing that I did want to change in here is to give the permission, where is it? To give the permissions, I also wanted to give it a description. So we're going to say table. And we don't want a necessarily long description. We just want something short, so we can leave it as a string, and then we'll call it description. And this will also make nullable. The reason we're making this nullable is because a user won't have any permissions at all. So when we give them, when they're given the role of user, that user is not going to have any roles associated with them other than user, but that user role isn't going to have any permissions attached to it. So we want to leave this description nullable for that. But they are still they'll still have the name, but they won't have the description. Okay, so why don't I go ahead and rerun that migration? So we'll say PHP artisan migrate fresh. And now if we go and we take a look at the database, we'll see that in here we have a bunch of new tables. So let's take a look at one. They won't have anything in them yet, but at least we can see that their field names are here. The guard name, the name, ID, all that stuff is in here. Okay, so now if we scroll up a bit and we go to our app folder our models folder, we don't have any models associated with the roles and the permissions. And that's fine, but I want to have more control over these roles and permissions. Now, the ones that we'll be using are actually coming from, let's say, role. I might have to, okay, we can do it this way. We'll just go down to the vendor files and go down to Spatie. And I believe it's in here. Yep, the source folder, your models, and here are where those models are coming from. Okay. Now, there are going to be some things that we want to add to this, like we want to change the we want to change the dates that are displayed, the created dates that are displayed, and we don't want to do that here, because remember, I always say we never ever touch the models in the vendor files. We don't touch anything in the vendor files. Whenever we need to do something in one of those files, we pull it out and put it in our main app instead of using these vendor files. So what we'll do here is we will create a new model, or two new models. So we'll say PHP artisan make model, and the first one we'll just call it role. Yeah, I think that shouldn't have had a space in it. Try that again. Role. And then the next one, we'll call it permission. Just so that we can customize anything that we would need to customize, we can just do it right in the models that we are creating. So the first one we have here, let's just go ahead and copy it. Copy the whole thing. Copy. Go all the way to our model section. Here's the role. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it here. Okay, so that's fine. So let's see. What do we need to change in here? We need to go up further. So now this at models, that can stay the same. We can get rid of this line. And we need to use all of these. So copy. Paste. Now we can get rid of this, since we already have it. And then we can now get rid of this. Just get rid of all that. Okay, we can get rid of that. And then we'll keep has permissions, refresh permissions, and we're not going to change anything else for now. We're just going to leave that as it is. Okay, so let's do the same thing for the permission model. So come down, permission, copy it all, go back to our permission model, just paste it under here, go up, and again, we'll just copy this out of here, cut. And now anytime we make a reference to the model, we can just use it right from here instead of coming from the I'll leave factory in there. Matter of fact, make sure I have it in here too. As factory. Well, no, we're not going to be using it, so there's no point in having it. So I'll take it out from the role, and then permission, we'll take it out from the permission. Okay, so now we can get rid of all of this, and we can also get rid of this. Okay, so now we'll be using everything else coming from Spatie, but now we're just going to be using this model from our app folder instead of the vendor file. Okay, fantastic. So now I want to, we can close all of these out. What I want to do now is start working on some dummy database seeder type stuff. So if we go to the user factory, one thing that we need to add in here is the admin field that's in the database. And then we'll just say 0. Okay, that's good. The next thing I want to do is create a seeder that's just, it's basically going to create all of the roles and permissions and attach them accordingly. And we're going to use just one seeder to do it to make it as easy as possible. So how we're going to do this is we're going to set up PHP artisan make seeder, and then we're going to call it roles and permissions seeder. Let that run. Okay, now we can go ahead and open it up. Now in the documentation for the Laravel permission, let's go look at that real quick. So installation, if we scroll up a little bit and we go to database seeding, in here it suggests that you might want to flush the package's cache before seeding to avoid cache conflict errors. So this line is something that we want to put first in our seeder. So we'll just copy that, come back in here, and we'll go ahead and paste that. So now we can come in here, and I want to put some notes in here. So for this one, it's going to be the user model. The next one will be role model. The next one will be permission model. And then the last one will be admin model. Now, if you decide to create any other models that you want to go in here, then you can just do the same. It's fine. Okay, so the first one. What we want to do is create the permissions before we create the roles. So we're going to do user permission 1. And that's going to equal permission. And we are now using the app models. Create. And there's going to be a name equal create user. The description is going to equal create user, and that's it. So we're basically going to do this for every single permission for each of the models. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to do all of that, and then I'm going to come back and show you what I did. Okay, so now if we look at this from top to bottom, so this is for all of the users. This is what this permission is handling. So we have 4 different permission types. One is to create, read, update, delete. So we're pretty much doing this on CRUD, okay? And it has all the descriptions ready. We did the same thing for the role model. We gave each its own permission with the name and the CRUD. We did the same thing for the permission model. And we did the same thing for the admin model. Now, well, it's not really a model, but it's just for the admins. So we are only creating 2 permissions for the admins. One is to be able to read it, and one is to be able to update it. And these are only going to be handled by the super admin and the admin. Okay, so the next thing we did was we created super admin role variables, admin role, moderator role. These are all variables. We're now creating these roles. We're giving them names, super admin, admin, moderator, developer, and user, because this is what we're going to be attaching to the user. Okay, so now if we take the super admin role, okay, we can sync the permissions to that role. And these are the permissions, okay, these are the permissions all the way up top that we are now syncing to that role. Okay, and I did this all for super admin, admin, moderator only has 4. The developer only has 1, which means that they can only see the admins. And then we took the super admin. Okay, now we're creating this variable, and in this variable we're creating the user. We're giving them the isAdmin equals 1, and that's that. We did that all for the super admin, the admin, the moderator, developer. Okay, and now we have the user where the isAdmin is 0. So when we see the database, anyone who has the user role now will have that automatically as their isAdmin is 0. Okay, now we also did for the super admin, we synced the roles to this super admin here that we created, we are now going to sync that. We're syncing the roles to that admin, to the super admin role. And then with that, we're also syncing the permissions. Okay, and these are all the permissions that we have available. And we're doing the same thing for the admin, moderator, developer. And as you can see here, we're only syncing the roles of user role. Okay, I know it seems confusing. It's really not that complex, but this is how I would do it in my own project. And that's why I'm showing you how to do it. And we don't need a million seeders to be able to do this. This is only the seeder. But what we're doing is these are going to be automatic roles that we have set up in our database already. So if it were my website, then what I would do is I would have these roles available. And then this way, if anything happens with someone getting access to it, then we can always reseed this and still have those permissions. And then we would just go and change the passwords, which are hashed. We would just go ahead and change those. And this way, nobody would have access to that any longer. Okay, so this is just a security measure that I do. Everybody does it different. This is how I do it. And so I'm sharing it with you. The last thing I want to set up today is one more seeder, and that seeder is only going to be for the users. Okay, so we'll do PHP artisan make seeder, and then we'll just call it user table seeder. Okay, and what this will do is it will just give us a bunch of users so that we can play around with moving them around and changing their permissions and changing their roles and stuff. So that's all this is. Now, the easiest way I found to do this, the cleanest way that I found, was to just do a for statement. Okay, and then we're going to say for I equals 1, now if that's less than 50, then we're going to increase it. Okay, so then in here we can just create a user variable equals user create, and then we're going to open up some brackets for an array. Okay, so the name is going to equal test, make a space, and then we're gonna attach or concatenate, I believe is the word. We're going to concatenate an I. So what that'll be doing is it's just going to take the name of test, and for every test that pops up under the amount of 50 is just going to increase this value, meaning the user their name will be test 1, test 2, test 3, and it'll go all the way up to 50. Okay, so then we have an email equals test, and then we'll concatenate the I again. And then we'll say at test.com. This way all of the emails will be unique. Okay, we'll put is admin equals 0, because this will just be standard users. And then we'll do email verified. We can actually grab this from the factory. You can grab all of this from here. Okay, and that's good. The random string of 10, and then we need semicolon at the end of this. Under here, we're going to create a role variable, and that's going to equal role where ID equals 5, and it's going to look for the first one, semicolon, and then we're going to have user sync roles, and we're just going to sync that role. Okay, now you also want to make sure that we import everything, so we're going to import user and import the string, eliminate support. Okay, just want to go up top, make sure everything is there, and let's double check this roles and seeders permission to make sure that we got everything in there too. Okay, now we can actually get rid of this because we're using the full namespace here, right here. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and add this to the database seeder. And in here, we can now get rid of this line here. And then we can just do this call. And this is just Laravel. This call. And the first one we want to call is roles and permissions seeder class. And the next one is the user table seeder class. The reason we're doing it in this order is because we want the roles to be done before we have the users in the database. And that's just the way that the seeders work. One more thing I want to explain, and that is we go to the user table seeder. Okay. Where we have Syncroles, this is part of Laravel, the Spatie permission package. This isn't Laravel. Okay, so it's just one of those things that's in here. They have different little functions that they use to do this stuff. So that's their sync. Let's see. Yeah, it's in the documentation. I think roles versus permissions. Yeah, it's in here somewhere. I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely from here. So it's not from Laravel. Okay, so now let's go back and we're going to do PHP artisan migrate fresh, and then we're going to throw the seed flag on there. Let's just open this up in case we get any errors. Okay, and it looks like we're getting an error. Instance of app models permissions return. Okay, so I think I forgot to check the, yeah, I definitely did. So if we go to the Spatie documentation and we go to the basic usage tab here, we need to put this trait in the user model. Okay, so you can drop it right in here and import it. Import class. And hopefully that should clear up that error. Try to run it again. Must be. Okay, so. Okay. I think that when we did the role model, as permissions, we're using everything. Okay. So we need to extend these as well. So implements the role contract, because that was part of that vendor file. See, if you go up here, Spatie permission contracts role as role contract. So then we also need to do the same thing for permission. All the way up top. And this one is going to be as permission contract. So implements permission contract. Okay, now that should clear that up. So, okay, let's see. Hopefully. I'm leaving these errors in because I want you to see how I debug the code. How I look through the errors, I try to sort of reverse engineer it and see what's going on. And sometimes I just forget stuff, and that's okay. Okay, so that looks like that went through okay. So did the user table seeder. Fantastic, no more errors. So now let's go ahead and check the database and see what's going on with our tables. So now we have users. Okay, we have 4 users: super admin, admin, moderator, developer. They all have is admin is 1. And then if we look here, we also have our test users. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantastic. And this one is just our test user that we made. And let's see what else we have here. We have the roles. Okay, so we have 5 different roles that we created. Permissions. All the permissions that we created. Role has permissions. And you would be able to click it and go to that permission ID. Well, at least in this database you can, because that migration that we have has foreign tables, foreign IDs on their tables. Okay, so you can see what that is. Model has roles. Okay, everything's filled out. So it's the user model that has role ID, and this is the model ID, and the model has permissions. User model, permission IDs, model IDs. Fantastic. So I'm going to leave it there for today. In the next episode, we're going to start bringing all this to the front end. I'm going to make sure to push all the code up to GitHub, and I'll leave the description down below, and also the link to this Spatie documentation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.